We also have snow across Colorado today, and to talk about that potential snowfall in Colorado today, or not potential, ongoing snowfall, I'm going to bring in meteorologist Michaela Smith. Now, Michaela, we have seen already many inches of snow.
Yes.
Across a good portion of Colorado, causing traffic troubles this morning. We've seen those snowplows out as well. Or is it going to let up anytime soon? What are people seeing out the door in Colorado?
Yeah, you know, the good news is people closer to like Denver, they had those traffic hazards more this morning. Snowplows have been out for a while now, though, and there's still, we just watched some go through, and I just watched again as we were literally talking. Another round went through, but the snow's moving to the south. So areas to the south, like Colorado Springs, are seeing some of that heavier snowfall now. Pueblo is going to see it a little bit later, so I can kind of break down that people closer to Denver are getting a break.
Absolutely.
Not everybody else is.
Not everyone. All right. Okay. Well, I will let you break this down, and I think we're going to see some live cameras later.
Yes, we are going to show you some live cameras from Colorado. So here's what Taylor was talking about, those storm chances today down in Houston, but we are going to take a closer look to Colorado. So this is right around 12:30, so kind of actively what we're talking about right now. Still seeing that snowfall from Denver, areas to the west as well, and then all down the I-25 corridor. So Colorado Springs, Pueblo, even down into New Mexico, you are likely to continue to see the snowfall over the next several hours. And it really does start to get heavier later on this evening. This is 9 p.m. Now you really start to see it shifting out of Denver at this point, but it's still all down I-25 and to the south. You're in New Mexico. Even the Oklahoma and Texas Panhandle seeing a little bit of snowfall. This is right around 2 o'clock in the morning. You're starting to see this weather system kind of shifting more towards the east, and you kind of start to wrap that up by early Thursday morning, and that's when we maybe talk about snow in the plains, which we'll talk more about that here in just a few minutes. So here's those 24-hour snow totals. You can see really where this snow has been kind of forecast. Yesterday we talked about it was going to be along I-25. That's where that heaviest snow did fall. We've had reports in Denver of 1 to 4 inches of snowfall just to the west side of Denver in Golden, Colorado. They've had 6 to 7 inches reported, and then areas to the south at Colorado Springs have already had 2 to 3. But with that snow ongoing, we're still seeing more snowfall. So here's a closer look in. Again, you can see more into the mountains. So Idaho Springs, you're talking about anywhere from maybe 8 to 10 inches of snowfall it's showing over those 24-hour totals. This is radar indicated, but that doesn't mean in some of those areas they haven't seen maybe a little bit less or possibly a little bit more. And you can see really where that's kind of lined up has been along I-25 and then just to the west for parts of the mountains. It's also where we have our watches and warnings. Here's our winter weather advisory that extends through Colorado and down into New Mexico. So that's a winter weather advisory. That's the one in purple. That is really for today. Areas to the north are going to see that start to expire here by about 2 o'clock this afternoon. Closer to Denver, you're going to see that expire about 6 o'clock this evening. So we just showed you that timeline that a lot of that snow is starting to push out by about 8. And then further to the south, it's about 8 o'clock, maybe midnight. And then as you head more into New Mexico, we're going to see those warnings not going up until about 2, 3 o'clock tomorrow morning, because it's as that snow is kind of shifting away. And then that's also where we have our winter storm warning goes until 2 o'clock. That's going to be areas in pink. And that's going to be some areas could see 10 to 20 plus inches possible. We're talking about a feet of snow possible in some of these locations. So the impacts could be up higher elevations. We're talking about very dangerous to impassable travel. You're not going to be able to travel when you have 20 feet of snowfall if those plows can't get out there fast enough. And if temperatures continue to stay cold, that could become a problem over the next several days. So this is currently where, again, we have these winter weather advisories and winter storm warning. So along I-25 is where we've seen that snowfall. I am going to show you some traffic cameras now. We'll start off looking in Denver, Colorado, and then we'll kind of work our way down to show you some of those different areas that we talked about in this winter weather advisory and in that winter storm warning. So we can pull up and show the traffic cameras in Denver.
They're up. You're not seeing it, but they are up.
They are up? Okay, perfect. So traffic camera in Denver is what you're seeing right now. This is where Taylor and I also had plows that we were watching coming through earlier, so we may post that on social media later, so that'll be something that's really interesting to see. You can also see that because those plows have been out across Denver, that travel conditions so far are really starting to improve. Now, when we were looking at these traffic cameras at about 8, 9 o'clock this morning, there were a lot more delays across the area. We want to flip over to the next one, Taylor. I think we start to move more towards the south, or maybe this next one is actually Golden, Colorado. This is just to the west of Denver. So this is where I mentioned to you that they had 6 inches of snowfall reported. And you can see those main streets at that point do have kind of that it has been cleared a little bit more, but those side streets you really see here are not fully cleared. So I've been watching this traffic camera. Cars are going pretty slowly through there. Once they get back to those kind of main thoroughfares, things are a little bit better, but there are still quite a few slowdowns in this area. I think we can jump to the next one now. This one's in Colorado Springs. So as you move more down 25, we're still in a winter weather advisory in Colorado Springs, but check out some of these areas. Snow plows have not been here yet. So you can see there's a car right now taking it very slowly through this intersection. Where other cars have been traveling, you're starting to get a little bit more traction, but making those turns, coming off of those roadways and turning onto other roadways is when you really need to use some caution. So seeing this in some places in Colorado Springs, you can also, if you really zoom in here, see that's where that snow is heavily coming down now, and it's going to continue to come down till 8, 9, 10 o'clock this evening. So it's going to be a lot of snow plows if they eventually get them out there going over the same areas again and again. And then I think we have one more to show you. This isn't a video, this is just a still picture, but it's showing you these near whiteout conditions. So when this really heavy snowfall is coming, this is further to the south, so this is past Colorado Springs, closer to about Pueblo. We're really starting to see that snow pick up at this location. So you can see cars out on the road, but it really is limiting visibility when this heavy snow is falling. So that's why we talked about those near whiteout conditions and why where we see this winter storm warning later on, this is going to be those areas that we're watching for possible impassable conditions because there's going to be so much snowfall coming down in a very short amount of time. Snow plows really can't get out there and start to clear the snow at that point. So thank you for letting us see those traffic cameras. We'll kind of zoom back away from the traffic cameras now. And then I'm just going to show you one more thing. So we've seen quite a bit of snow now. We just talked about some places have seen 6 inches. Up in the mountains, you've already seen 8, 9 inches of snowfall. But there's still more to come, especially areas to the south between Colorado Springs, Pueblo, getting closer to the border of New Mexico. You're still seeing 6 inches at this point. Now you're sitting at about 10 o'clock tonight. You're seeing a foot of snowfall at this point. So it's falling very quickly. You get to about 5 o'clock in the morning, you're sitting in between 10, 12 inches. So this is the area where that winter storm warning is that we talked about, could see over 20 inches of snowfall possible. So this really starts to add up at this point. Now you're until about the middle of the day tomorrow and you're still seeing these totals increasing. But I also want to show you this system is going to be moving towards the plains. So I'm going to bring Taylor back in now to kind of talk about how where the snow is falling in Colorado currently. We just showed you those videos. They have to have the snow plows out. They are doing a lot to keep those roads passable. That by me moving this way. And one thing about Oklahomans, we don't handle snow very well.
Oh, no, not at all. I mean, that snow and a little bit of ice that we saw on Monday, it wasn't a lot, but we had over 100 wrecks in Oklahoma City. And Michaela, you were telling me over 60 wrecks in Tulsa. Yeah. Unfortunately, a little goes a long ways here. So we're not getting as much snow as Colorado is getting. Thankfully, I don't think that would be well.
It would shut down the entire state
for a while. However, we could still see that winter weather, and you can see that behind us. So I'm going to break that down, Michaela. We appreciate you being here for us and tracking that Colorado snow. Yes. A ton of snow in Colorado, not a ton of Colorado in snow. Okay, let's move on. Let's talk a little bit more about a more serious thing. I know that snow is a lot of fun. However, we absolutely have to take this serious because early tomorrow morning, not only will we get that blast of cold weather, we are also going to get a little bit of winter weather, winter mix moving in. You can see in some of these areas, we've got these areas highlighted in pink. That's ice. It's freezing rain that could be accumulating on the ground. I don't think that this is the only area to see freezing rain. I actually think that we could see that across the southern portion of the metro into Moore and Norman, Oklahoma. Better chances for snow will be farther out to the west, anywhere from western Oklahoma down to Clinton along I-40 and across I-35, maybe even up to Stillwater. No, it's not going to be a blanket of snow. It's not going to be what they saw in Colorado. No, no, no. But we could see in some areas isolated 1 to 2 inches of snow. That's absolutely possible. I will also tell you the HER model right around or shortly before lunchtime was a lot more aggressive about how much snow we were going to get. So this could change. This is a change from what we saw early this morning. We did not see this type of snow and ice early this morning in our models. Now we are starting to see that. Better chances for more snow accumulation farther out to the west. Again, you go down to the south of I-40, that's when you get that winter mix, anything from grapple or sleet to snow, freezing rain. You could see any of that turning to ice as it melts on the roadways and then refreezes because of those cold temperatures that we're getting tomorrow, which we'll get into here in just a few minutes. This snow could go all the way up the Turner Turnpike into places like Tulsa, where I do think that accumulations will be very, very minor, but as we talked about earlier, a little goes a long ways, especially in some of our southern states like Oklahoma and Arkansas. After tomorrow afternoon, by about 3, maybe 4 o'clock, the snow will stop in Oklahoma, moving to Arkansas and southern Missouri at this point, continuing to track to the east into places like Memphis, Nashville, Kentucky. Again, you may see that white and pink on the board. That does not mean that we're going to get a blanket of snow in these areas. More likely than not, a dusting to maybe very isolated 1-inch snowfall totals until you get to the mountainous regions, and then you're going to see those snowfall totals go up. You're also going to get some ice in these areas as well. I would keep an eye on North Carolina for those more impressive ice totals.